Hello, and welcome to Improbable Things. I'm J. Grace Pennington, and this is my podcast where I share 6 improbable thoughts before breakfast, which consists of 6 thoughts about reading, writing, or storytelling in some form. So I've got my 6 things down, excited to be back with you all after another unintended break, so let's get started. So yes, before I start, I want to apologize for missing last week. We were sick, super sick around here, and it was just a crazy week, so I did not get to the recording, but I am getting to it now, and I have so much to share with y'all. So I'm going to get started with number 1, which is my update on my book Firmament Humanoid, and it is being released on Vella right now. I put out the first episode, let's see, I want to say maybe like a week and a half ago or so, and I am releasing episodes on there every weekday, and I'm trying to make sure to keep them short because I think that's one mistake I made when I put Eleftheria up there, is that I just, I pretty much just put the chapters on there in their full length, and they mostly ended up being over like 2,500 words. And the way that Vella works, if you haven't used it, is basically you pay 1 token for every, but basically like 1 token for every 100 words. And so, and each token, it depends on how many you buy at a time, but for the cheapest package, each token ends up being about 1 cent. So I found, as I've done a lot of reading other people's Vellas to help them promote, their work and all of that, that I really dislike picking up episodes that are that long because it costs a lot. And so I decided instead this time around to break them up. Usually what I find that I prefer to see if I'm going to grab some episodes for somebody is for them to be under 10 tokens, which means they have to be under 1,000 words. So I'm trying to keep them at least close to that, which means breaking up each chapter into 3, maybe even 4 pieces. So that's another reason why I'm releasing them so quickly, is so I can get it all up there, because again, it has to be, I think I've explained before, it has to be up there for 30 days before I can get the ebook and paperback out. So anyway, if you're interested at all, well, you can read the first 3 chapters on there for free, and then check out the rest, or some of the rest if you're interested, or if you prefer to wait for the regular ebook and the paperback version, then I'm hoping that'll be along in about a couple of months. And number 2, there's a couple more days left on this, so I thought I would just highlight it. Some friends and fellow authors and I are doing a really fun promotion this month where we are giving away 6 months of Kindle Unlimited, which if you haven't used it or aren't familiar with it, I think I've heard it referred to as kind of like Netflix for books. Like you pay a certain amount and get to have many, many, many books from the Kindle store that you can read for free. And all of my books are on there, and obviously lots of other people's books, hundreds of thousands of books. And so we are giving away 6 months of that. And if you are interested in entering that giveaway, you can find the rafflecopter for it over on my blog. If you just head to jgracetheauthor.com, it's on a recent post just entitled Kindle Unlimited Giveaway, and you can find out more there. But I wanted to make sure that my listeners get a chance at that, because I think it was a great idea for a giveaway, and I'm really excited for whoever wins, because that's going to be awesome. Number 3, when I was here a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I was working on designing and hopefully ordering some bookmarks for the Firmament series, and since that time I have actually ordered and received them, and it was so exciting to get that package. So I ordered 1,000 of them. So I have quite a few, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. And so I am trying to figure out now, 500 of them I ordered to give to someone who asked me to do them in the first place, who's going to be using them for some promotions that she's doing, which I really appreciate. But then I still have 500 more, and I already know there's quite a few family and friends that have asked for some, and so I would just love to send some out to anybody that loves the Firmament series. So if you're interested in any, again, please just message me. You can email me, get a hold of me, however, and let me know. And I would love to send some out to people because they just look so gorgeous, in my opinion. I have such beautiful artwork for my books, and I got to get all of it in there, including the humanoid cover. And so, yeah, super happy with how this turned out. And I have been putting them in my own books for the past few days. And it makes me feel very professional. So number 4, as you know, if you've been listening for a while, my girls love going to the library. And we used to go every week, but it's definitely been tougher lately to get out there. And for a while, it was because I had all the morning sickness, and it was just really tough for me to get anywhere. And then it was just so cold. I know there was one time we finally had headed out to just return all our old books because I couldn't even renew them anymore, and to get some new books finally. But we started out, and the temperature, I think, dropped like 20 degrees while we were out. This was maybe about a month ago. And I just told the girls, like, I'm sorry, but it's too cold. We're not going to go. I know y'all would be miserable. So we just dropped off the books at the outdoor drop and went home. But we were finally able to get back a couple weeks ago. And one thing that I found there too is that they have kids' books on CD, which, since the girls got a CD player for Christmas, has been fun. So last time we went, I picked up the book, The Little House, which I loved when I was a kid, and they listened to it at least once a day for like the past couple of weeks. And so just yesterday we were able to get back again after having been sick and everything. Had to take The Little House back, but I picked up some more CDs for them, including Frog and Toad, which we always love reading, and just was able to get some more books. And it's just, I hope we can get back into doing it more. I'm still very tired with pregnancy, but thankfully at least feeling a little better. And they just enjoy so much getting to go, look around, pick out books. And then when we get home, we always sit and just like read through all the books that we've got. And they also on the couch with me and listen. And as I finish a book, one of them will grab it and flip through it while I read the next one. And it's just such a sweet little routine that we have. So yeah, so glad we were able to get back. Excited about the CDs, and it's just something we love to do. Number 5 on my currently reading, I started a book called How to Read a Book by Mortimer J. Adler. And this was one of the recommendations in the book Book Girl by Sarah Clarkson. And I mentioned back when I read that I was intending to read every single book in it that she recommended. And I was serious about that. So this was one of them. And I just started it a couple days ago. And it's very interesting so far. He is talking about, obviously, not just reading, and he goes into the differences between different types of reading, but reading well and really being able to get the most out of your reading. And so basic, what we would kind of just think of as reading, which is what you learn in school, which she calls elemental reading, is so much more limited than I think we realize. And there's so many people that don't tend to get beyond that and maybe don't get a lot out of what they read. And I think I'm probably somewhere in the middle where I definitely, I obviously read more than a lot of people do. But I do think I generally tend to get a good amount out of what I read. And I took I watched a college course several years ago called The Art of Reading, which went into some of the same things he talks about, but just talking about reading analytically, and also how, as I just tend to read really fast, and he talks about, there's a lot of emphasis on reading fast in our education, but the truth is there are some things that it's best to read fast, and there's some things it's best to read slow. And so I think part of what he's going to go into the book is how to know the difference, and just all the different, 4 different stages of reading. He breaks it down into 4 different types of reading. And so yeah, I'm only a few chapters in, and he's just really kind of laying the groundwork, I think, for what the rest of the book is going to be about. But I'm really excited about it. I definitely feel that when it comes to books that are just a little more difficult, I struggle with, I always think of it as that I'm struggling with focusing, but after reading this book, I'm also feeling that it might not just be focus. Like there may be some skills when it comes to reading that I've not really developed. And so, like for instance, I think a couple of years ago, I read Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton, and I just could not really comprehend it. Like there were places that really shone, but so much of it I just it wasn't working for my brain. And so a lot of books like that are more like in-depth and thought-provoking, I think sometimes I can struggle with. And so I'm really excited and hopeful that this book will maybe help me with some of that. And also lately I'm doing a lot of Bible reading, and I'm including a lot of Bible commentaries into that, and sometimes those can be a little difficult for me. Again, I've been saying they're difficult to focus on, but I think maybe if I were to develop some of the skills in this book, it would help me with that. So I will let you all know how the rest of it is, but so far really good. So number 6, one thing that I have needed to do for a very long time, for several years, is to go back through the Firmament series and just update it just a little bit. And most of that is just, I've found some typos since they were published, some continuity errors, things like that. And then I want to just make some additions to the front and back matter of the books, where I want to put lists of my other books in the back. I want to make sure I ask people for reviews. And in the first book, I need to make sure that I mention my newsletter, because part of the deal with making the first book free is supposed to be that in it you have people sign up for the newsletter and get the second book for free. And I have all that set up. Like you could get the second book for free by signing up for my newsletter, but readers of the first book don't know that because I never have gone back and put it in. So I just really needed to do that. So most of it is very basic. My formatter is on board to just help me get those done real quick. And so I did decide that I'm going to do that this year, and I laid out a schedule for it. However, there's one somewhat major change I am thinking about making to the series, but I cannot decide, first of all, whether I should do it, and second of all, if I do, how I should do it. So here's my dilemma. In the beginning of the first book, the main character, Andy Lloyd, is 21 years old. Everybody that reads the books thinks she's younger, or if they don't think she's younger, think that she acts younger and that she acts way too young for her age, that she should be a teenager. And it's just been a pretty frequent thing that's come up among my readers. And a lot of times when I mention this dilemma to people, they'll be like, oh yeah, I already thought she was like 18. Like it's just, apparently that's how she comes across. And also, since they are supposed to be young adult books, it is more common for the protagonist to be in their teens. So I have been considering changing her age, which wouldn't really matter to the books. And I can't really make her too much younger than 18 because I still want her to be basically an adult. But I could make her 18 and that would be perfectly fine. That's not the problem. The problem is then it messes with the entire timeline. And so I have to decide if I want to do that or if I just want to leave it the way it is. And then if I do that, I'm honestly, it's super early in the morning right now, and I've already been awake for like an hour just laying there trying to figure out and trying to think between these ways what would be the best. So here are 3 options I came up with for how I can do this. I can just move the entire timeline forward so that everything in the entire timeline happens, 3 years, what would that be, 3 years later. So that way, once they get up to 2320, when the first book starts, she's 18. Everybody else is also 3 years younger, which works totally fine. And honestly, some of the other characters, especially her brother, people have also commented seem younger than they're supposed to be. So that's one option, and it is one I am leaning towards. However, there are a few things it wouldn't work for. Like, for instance, in Humanoid, the one I'm releasing right now, there's something that happened 12 years ago. And so I would then I need that to still have happened 12 years ago. So I would have to slide that back. And I have a document that has the entire timeline, like every single character in the series, when they were born, marriages, births, when significant events in people's lives, deaths, when people first went into space, like significant events in the series. I have it all laid out. So it wouldn't, like, I have that available, and I can take that and like just tweak it, go through the whole thing. But that just seems like potentially a pain. So that's one thing. Another option is kind of another version of the same thing, is just setting the whole, like moving the whole series back 3 years, like the time that it starts, which there's nothing really significant that happens like 3 years, in the 3 years before the story starts. So I could do that. But then again, I have a few things like where this event that needs to have happened 12 years ago. So again, I would still have to slide that back. And so what one benefit of doing it that way is that then I wouldn't have to change a lot of the other dates that come up in the series, because they would still be the same, just the opening year would be different. But the opening year is also in the blurb. So the opening year is 2320, which is in the blurb for the first book. It starts out the year as 2320, and I like the sound of that better than the year as 2317. So I'm just not sure about that. My other option is to just move Andy's birth forward 3 years and leave everything else where it is. And there might be a few other things I'd have to change. Like, obviously, for instance, her mother, her birth mother dies shortly after, like when she's very little. And so I would have to move that event. So there's a few other events in her life I would have to move around, but most of everything else would just stay the same. And so that is very appealing, because I think it probably requires the least amount of changes. However, it does require, like, it still requires, like, there's a lot of times where I reference that she's been on the ship this long and she's been there since she was this age. And so I would have to change all of that if I'm changing her actual age in relation to everything else. So probably this is confusing. I'm mostly just kind of like processing this out loud at this point, because like I said, I've been laying there awake for an hour trying to think about all of it. And one conclusion I came to is that what I need to do is just take my timeline document, obviously save it, make a copy, and just go through the copy and try some of these things, see how difficult each one would be, and if I run into any problems I haven't foreseen, like, just try moving just her age in relation to everything else and see how that ends up falling into place. Because I might do that and be like, oh, this works perfectly well. Like, this is the greatest option. Or I may do that and realize, oh no, actually, here's this thing I didn't think about. That, anyway, it's just a lot to have to think about. And I'm still trying to decide if I should even do it. Because honestly, when I took a poll in an online writers group, most people voted just leave it the way it is. And there were plenty of people who were saying, age, everybody's different, acts different at different ages. She does have some reason, she has been kind of sheltered in her life, so there are some reasons that she might conceivably seem younger than she is. But there is also the fact that if I want to keep calling them young adult books, it is better to have her at least start off as a teenager. So that was a lot to put on y'all, but I just needed to kind of get those thoughts out loud and continue to work through it. And I really would love if any of that made sense to you, or if you have any thoughts about it, or if you are like, no, just leave it, her age is fine. I would really love to hear thoughts from anybody, recommendations, suggestions. I am just struggling with this decision, and I'm going to start going through the books next month, so, which is in just a few days, in case you didn't realize. This time is just flying by. Oh my goodness. So I need to decide. So please, if you have any thoughts that can help me make this decision, please let me know. thank you all for listening and for bearing with me on the journey that has been this morning's podcast. I feel like it was a little bit all over the place, but that's where my brain is right now. So you just get a little sneak peek into the workings of my mind. So please, again, let me know your thoughts about changing Andy's age, about reading and the skill of reading, and any recommendations that you have for children's books, children's CDs. Would absolutely love that. And don't forget to go over to my blog and enter that Kindle Unlimited giveaway, because I would really love for one of y'all to win that. So thank you again so much for listening. Hope that everybody has a great day and a great weekend ahead, and stay improbable. Bye.